Hello students. In previous class we completed section 134. It is all about financial statement, board of directors report, then signing of financial statement, signing of board of directors report, right? Now in this lecture let's cover one more important topic, an interesting topic, corporate social responsibility. This concept gained more and more importance during COVID pandemic. And the name itself is telling, social responsibility. Now, corporate should also have social responsibility. It's not only individuals. So, individual having social responsibility, okay. But now, corporate should also have that social responsibility. The picture behind this concept is very simple. Today companies are doing business, they're earning profits only because of society. How? Just go through the factors of production. We had four factors of production, right? Land, labor, entrepreneur, capital, right? Now all these resources are from society only. You're getting labor from society, you're getting raw materials from society, and whatever output you are producing after manufacturing whatever finished goods you are producing, all those units will be sold to the public. That means they are part of society. So that means right from procurement, right from purchase onwards, processing, and then selling. In all these activities, if you observe, you are able to do these activities only with the help of society, right? So certain portion of your profits, I'm not asking you completely invest or completely expend your profits on the society. No, I'm not telling like that. Certain portion, say for suppose 2% of your average last 3 years profits. How much? 2% of last 3 years average profits you just spent on this society. On what activities, sir? All those activities were specified under schedule 7. Just go through that list once, you'll get a clarity. So corporate social responsibility, with the help of society, today you are earning profits. Now certain portion of profits you need to spend on this society, then only we can develop ourselves, developing economy. Let's see the part, to whom, to which entities corporate social responsibility is applicable. Is CSR applicable to all the corporates or only to the notified establishments? So we'll see the point. But before going to 17th question, let me explain you 18th question. After completion of 18th question, I'll come back to 17th. So here it is very clear, applicability of CSR. Applicability of CSR. First they started with applicability of CSR committee. But yes, once CSR is applicable, then CSR committee is also applicable. Just see the point. According to section 135 subsection 1, first point of this section, every company, whether you are listed, unlisted, government company, non-government company, and then you're a public company or a private company, any company having net worth of 500 crores or more, or turnover 1000 crores or more, or net profit 5 crores or more. If any one of these conditions satisfied, they specified three conditions, any one of the condition is satisfied, then CSR is applicable to you, corporate social responsibility is applicable to you. So what are those conditions? Net worth 500 crores or more, sir. While calculating net worth, what are the things are covered, sir? While calculating net worth, for that you just come through this question. Definitions. You can see the net worth definition here. Meaning of net worth. So what are the things covered under net worth, sir? Paid up share capital of the company, free reserves of the company, reserves that are available to the members for distribution and payment of dividends, and then securities premium account. And you need to adjust accumulated losses, accumulated carry forward losses, all these things you need to adjust. So once if you get the figure, that is nothing but your net worth. So if your net worth is 500 crores or more, that's it. The condition is, if your net worth is more than greater than or equal to 500 crores, then condition 1 satisfied, CSR is applicable to you. But the point is, from where we should get these figures, sir? From where we should get these figures? Audited financial statements or unaudited financial statements? Last 3 years back financial statements or recent financial statements? The answer is audited financial statements. But while calculating these reserves, one of the reserves should be excluded, that is revaluation reserves. Of course, land today, whatever the land you purchase, so it need not be equal to tomorrow land value. Because of increase in population, the land is gaining more and more value. So earlier, the land value is very cheap, but now, land value is very costly because of increase in population. Demand for land is getting increased, right? So now, book value is different, market value is different. Now if you are inflating that book value, if you are increasing that book value to the market value, it is nothing but revaluation. And any surplus arising out of such revaluation will credit to revaluation reserve. These reserves will not form part of net worth. And then, return or write back of depreciation and amalgamation. So in amalgamation, whatever reserves got accumulated, statutory reserves. So in amalgamation, what happens? One company will acquire another company. One company will acquire another company, or two companies come together, they get dissolved, and some third company will be formed. Now the point is, during such amalgamation process, because of regulatory rules and due to some rules and regulations, we need to keep some reserves, statutory reserves, and those statutory reserves are also not form part of net worth ma. And then we discussed the net profit. So net profit, how much? 5 crores or more. 5 crores or more. If net profit is 5 crores or more, then CSR is applicable. Sir, suppose my company net worth is just 3 crores, sir. My turnover is just 100 crores, sir. Whereas my net profit is 10 crores, sir. Now if you observe, first two conditions, not satisfied, third condition satisfied. Now tell me, sir, is CSR applicable or not applicable? Applicable. CSR is applicable. Now, net profit shall not include such sums as may be prescribed and shall be calculated in accordance with provisions of section 198. So in section 198, there is a list. There is a list, you need to exclude them while calculating net profit. And you can see here example. The statutory auditors of company were required to issue a certificate on net worth of the company as per requirements of the management as on 30th September 2020, computed as per section 2 clause 57 of the Companies Act 2013. The company had fair valued its property, plant, equipment in current year, which was mistakenly taken into the retained earnings. Revaluation reserves will not form part of retained earnings of the company in its books of accounts. Please advise whether this fair valuation would be covered in the net worth of the company as per legal requirements. Not covered. We'll see the point. While calculating net profit, net worth, this should not be considered. So here, if you observe 2 clause 57, reserves created out of revaluation of assets does not form part of net worth. The company fair valued its property, fair valued plant and machinery, took into the retained earnings. Even if company has taken fair valuation to the retained earnings in its books of account, the resultant credit in reserves would be in the category of reserves created out of revaluation of assets, which is specifically excluded in the definition of net worth and hence should be excluded by the company. Further, auditors should also consider the matter related to accounting of this reserves separately at the time of audit of books of accounts, because he's just giving certificate, he's not expressing any opinion. So before expressing opinion, care should be taken that that portion of revaluation reserves, that portion which was added to the reserves should be separated, should be considered separately. And we had one more example. ABC Limited is a company with a turnover of more than 1000 crores in the preceding 3 financial years and incurred a loss in one of the preceding 3 financial years. Will it be required to comply with CSR? Yes. Yes, they need to comply, but they no need to expend any money. They need no need to spend any money on the society. No need to spend any money under CSR. Why? Because CSR, amount of contribution under CSR should be minimum 2%, 2% of last 3 years average net profits. When company is suffering with losses, losses is nothing but negative figure into 2%. How much amount I can spend on the society? No, nothing, nothing. So, as per section 135 subsection 1, if any one of the three criteria gets satisfied, the company is mandatorily required to comply CSR provisions. No need to spend money. So ABC Limited will be required to comply with CSR based on its turnover. The mere fact company had incurred loss in one of the preceding 3 financial year will not be considered for determining the applicability of CSR to the companies. That's what I'm telling you. CSR is applicable. CSR is applicable, but no need to spend money. If resulting figure is negative into 2%, you'll get negative. Do you think that society will pay you 2%? No, society won't pay you, right? Now once again come back to the normal provisions ma. So we completed these 3 points, and these 3 points we need to check, during the immediately preceding financial year, shall constitute a CSR committee. So once any of the criteria you fulfilled, the first step is form a committee, corporate social responsibility committee. It's similar to audit committee, similar to nomination and remuneration committee. So audit committee, you might have heard about audit committee. So with respect to audit related matters, related party transactions, they had control on it. So here also, separate committee which was designated as CSR, it will look after the effects of CSR policy activities. So how many persons should present in that committee, sir? Three or more directors. Three or more directors, out of which at least one director shall be the independent director. So this is just a general provision. We had exceptions to this point. Don't worry, we had exceptions to this point. Exceptions to this point means, sir, what? Generally, CSR committee should have three directors. Out of three, one should be independent director. But sir, myself a private company in which minimum two directors should present, and my company had only two directors, sir. Fortunately, my company net profit is 10 crores. That's why I was covered under CSR section, sir. Now, should I increase the number of directors to three? No. Those two directors will form part of CSR committee. Those two directors will form part of CSR committee, and no need of independent director also. This is one exception. And suppose public company, I'm not listed company, and public interest is not there in my company. In that case, no need of independent director. So in your company, if there is no independent director, then your CSR committee no need to have independent director. So these 2-3 exceptions we will discuss in the next question. But for the time being, you remember, once CSR norms, once CSR limits you satisfied, the first step is form a committee with 3 directors. One should be independent director. What that committee will do, they will formulate a policy, CSR policy. Sir, our agenda, rural transformation in rural areas, complete technology. We want to introduce technology in the rural areas, rural development, schools, construction of schools in the rural areas, everything, sir. Rural transformation is our objective. Acha, fine. For that project, how much money is required, sir? Some 500 crores, sir. Now what is your limit as per CSR, CSR section? Sir, average net profits of our entity is 100 crores, sir. 100 crores, sorry. Yes, 100 crores. Okay, 100 crores, sir. Into 2%, 2 crores. Now the qualifying amount is 2 crores. So now this CSR committee, considering the 2 crores budget, they should form a policy, and they need to spend that money on according to the policy, and they should monitor. So simply they should formulate a policy, and they should recommend that policy to board of directors, and they should seek board of directors approval. Finally, board of directors will pay money, and these people should monitor how the money is spent, whether we are fulfilling the schedules or not, whether we are fulfilling our objectives or not. All these things, who should take care of these things? CSR committee. Provided that where a company is not required to appoint an independent director under subsection 4 of section 149, it shall have in its corporate social responsibility committee 2 or more directors. In a private company 2, in a public company 3. And we had one more point, holding subsidiary companies, foreign companies. Holding company, subsidiary company, foreign companies. Every company, listen carefully, some important point, and confusing point is there here. Every company, including its holding subsidiary and a foreign company which was defined under section 2 clause 42 of the act, having its branch office or project office in India, which fulfills the criteria specified in subsection 1 of this section 135 of the act, shall comply with the provisions of section 135 of the act and these rules, provided The net worth, turnover, or net profit of a foreign company of the Act shall be computed in accordance with balance sheet and profit and loss account of such company, prepared in accordance with Section 381, subsection 1, clause A of the Companies Act and Section 198 of the Act. See here, a holding company is required to prepare two financial statements. One is standalone financial statements, that means entity as a whole, and the other one is consolidated financial statements. Here, the holding company will consider the figures of subsidiary company. So in these cases, amount 2% on what, sir? On what profit? Standalone profits or including the figures of subsidiary? Sir, standalone only. In that case, dividends received from subsidiary company, on that dividends also, is this 2% concept applicable or not? Everything, all these points were, notified in this section. That's what they're telling. Provided. Okay. So I'll give you clarity. Just wait a moment. Just wait a moment. You'll get complete clarity. So now, cessation of section 135 applicability. Cessation means, no need to continue CSR committee. You can terminate it. When, sir? When? So exclusion. Every company which ceases to be a company covered under section 135 subsection 1 for 3 consecutive financial years shall not be required to constitute a CSR committee, shall not be required to comply with provisions of subsection 2 to subsection 6 of the said section. That means once CSR is applicable, it will be applicable for the next 3 years consecutively. So this year, for example, 2021-22, my turnover is, say, take profit. My profit is, assume that other two figures are within the limits. My profit is 10 crores. Now CSR is applicable to me. So 22-23, my profit came to 2 crores. CSR applicable or not applicable? Again applicable. So 23-24, my profit was 1 crore, sir. CSR is applicable. 24-25, my profit is just 50 lakhs, sir. CSR is applicable. So once applicable, it is applicable to 3 consecutive years. And 25-26, my net profit is just 80 lakhs, sir. From this year onwards, CSR is not applicable because last 3 consecutive financial years you failed to fulfill the requirements of CSR. So that means, once CSR is applicable, it is applicable for 3 consecutive years. Till such time, once again, it meets the criteria as specified in section 135 subsection 1. Then composition of CSR committee. Just now I told you who will form part of this committee, how many persons should present. Same points. I'll read it. You just listen carefully. CSR committee of the board shall consist of 3 or more directors, out of which at least 1 director shall be independent director. This is general provision, ma. This is general provision, general rule. Provided that where a company is not required to appoint an independent director under subsection 4 of section 149, it shall have its CSR committee 2 or more directors. So if no independent director, then you should have 2 or more directors. This is exception 1, and you'll get complete clarity under these points. Composition as per CSR committee. Composition as per CSR committee. So the company mentioned in the rule 3 shall constitute CSR committee as under. The company covered under subsection 1 of section 135. No need to remember sections. You can ignore that part. A company which is not required to appoint an independent director shall have its CSR committee without such director. Okay. And private company having only 2 directors on its board shall constitute CSR committee with 2 such directors. Suppose in my private company there are 5 directors, sir. Now 3 directors will form part of CSR committee. 3 directors will form CSR committee. My private company had only 2 directors, sir. Then 2 directors will take the position of CSR committee members. With respect to foreign company covered under these rules, foreign company means company incorporated outside India and having place of business in India. That means, directors definitely they will stay outside India only because their incorporation happened outside India, right? So in that case, the CSR committee shall comprise of at least 2 persons, of which 1 person shall be specified under clause D of subsection 1 of 380 of the Act, and another person shall be nominated by foreign company. That means, one person should be from Indian origin, Indian resident. The other person will be nominated by foreign company, maybe foreigner. Okay. So these are, like exceptions to the three or more directors concept. Disclosure of composition of CSR committee. So whoever forming part of the CSR committee, you need to disclose their names in the board report. So the board report under subsection 3 of section 134 shall disclose the composition of CSR. And CSR committee is applicable when your turnover is 1000 crores or more, net worth 500 crores or more, net profit 5 crores or more. This is general rule. This is general rule, but no need to have committee in the following case. In the following case, no need to have a committee. Sir, what is that case, sir? Very simple. If your amount, qualifying amount to be spent under CSR, if it is does not exceed 50 lakh rupees, that means, I told you average 2% of average profits you need to spend under CSR, right? My net profit is 10 crores. Imagine 10 crores. Average last 3 years net profit is 10 crores. Into 2%, that means, 20 lakhs, which is less than 50 lakhs. Again, for spending 20 lakhs also, forming a committee, come on, form a policy, recommend that policy to the directors, monitor the activities. Again, why, forming separate committee, separate, again complying more and more provisions, it is costly and time taking, right? So if the amount to be spent under this section does not exceed 50 lakhs, that means, if it is up to 50 lakhs, the requirement under subsection 1 for constitution of CSR committee shall not be applicable, and the functions of such committee provided under this section shall in such cases be discharged by the board of directors of such company. The total in this question, what we read, first one, applicability of CSR. Once CSR is applicable, you need to have a committee. You need to have a committee with so and so number of directors. And then we discussed the definition of net worth, the definition of net profit, and we covered when CSR committee is not required. When CSR committee is not required. So few points I already completed in this paragraph. Few points I completed. Those points I'll read it now. Those points, not complete question number 17. I'll explain right now. 17 you can understand only if I complete remaining part of CSR. So see, my dear students, the provisions related with CSR are covered under section 135 and CSR rules 2014. A non-applicability. IFSC companies, International Finance Service Centers, so who can provide finance from anywhere, any place. If you want finance in America, they will arrange finance. You can apply loan from India and you'll get direct finance from America. So other countries also you can get financial assistance. These companies, they came into the existence as a part of globalization. So for ease of doing business, for attracting this type of companies, we give 5 years freedom. 5 years from commencement of business. Even if your profit is more than 5 crores, no need to comply section 135. Up to 5 years we are giving this privilege to you. 5 years from incorporation. It's not 5 years from incorporation, 5 years from commencement of business. And key definitions. First one, corporate social responsibility means activities undertaken by the company in pursuance of its statutory obligation laid under section 135 of the act. So that means, some activities were specified under section 135, but if you see 135, they will give reference to schedule 7. So what are all the activities specified under schedule 7? You need to spend on those activities, but those activities excludes the following. That means even if you spend money on these activities, it is not a qualifying amount. Once again, you need to spend amount on the CSR. So on the following whatever items I'm reading, if you spend amount on these activities, they won't qualify CSR expenditure. And this is something you are doing for society development. That's the reason you won't get any deduction in the profit and loss account also. As per income tax norms, as per income tax rules and regulations, CSR expenditure is not allowed as a deduction for claiming, tax privileges. Now we'll see first point, activities undertaken in pursuance of normal course of business. Normal course of business. And we had an exception to this. So why, this is not covered? I'll read the first point. Activities undertaken in pursuance of normal course of business of the company. Because if I allow this point, yes, you can spend on these activities also. Then what, what companies will do? They will incur lot of amount on the promotions of their products. Indirectly, they are getting benefit from that expenditure. Here, it should not be your normal business activity. For example, we for imagine, Shrestha Private Limited is a company. Shrestha Private Limited is a company, and we are providing education services to the students at CA level. Now, fortunately, our profit was 10 crores. I'm telling you just example, 10 crores. Now, 10 crores into 2%, how much? 20 lakhs. We need to spend this 20 lakhs, right? Sir, what we did? We went to a rural area. We, motivated some 10 students. So you can also do CA course. Come and join our institute. They told that, sir, we are not having that much money. And I said, no, no problem. We will pay fees on behalf of you. We pay to ourselves on behalf of you. So the 20 lakhs, which whatever the amount is there, spending on those people education, is it a qualifying expenditure? No, because it is our business activity. Providing education is our my business activity. Now, amount spent in this process, going to rural area, opening a new building for educational purposes, development of education in the rural areas. First, who are you? Sir, I'm an educational institute owner, sir. Then whatever amount you spent on opening the schools in rural areas is directly connected to your normal course of business. Now that amount won't qualify for CSR expenditure. But we had an exception, exception to exception. That means, qualifying. First of all, we shall not include following. That means exception. In exception, you had one more exception. That means, this is qualified expenditure. This you can treat it as a CSR expenditure. What are those? Any company engaged in research and development activity of new vaccine, drugs, medical devices in the normal course of business may undertake research and development activity of new vaccine, drugs, medical devices related to COVID-19, not all the items, BP checking machines, sugar checking machines, diabetes, simply, all those machines, all those research and development activities won't be come under this part, only COVID-19. And that too, it is limited only financial years 2021-22, 2021-22-23, subject to the conditions that such research and development activities shall be carried out in a collaboration with any of the institutes or organization mentioned under item number 9 of the schedule 7 to the act. You should not carry these activities independently. Suppose, Dr. Reddy Laboratories is there, their net profit is 200 crores, and they need to spend some 4 crores amount on the company. 4 crores, 200 crores into 2%, how much ma? Not 4 crores. Now, so spending 4 crores on developing the medicines, is it sufficient? Is it qualifying expenditure? No. They should spend this money exclusively for COVID-19 related activities, and for that they need to collaborate with any of the institutes mentioned under this schedule 7, item number 9. And details of such activities shall be disclosed separately in the annual report on CSR included in the board report. Next one, outside India. Any activity undertaken by the company outside India except for training of Indian sports personnel representing any state or union territory at national level or India at international level. So this is also excluded. But you can see the point here, except activity undertaken outside India is not a qualifying expenditure, because society development, that society should be in India, or simply you need to spend amount in India. So spending amount outside India, sir, not a qualifying expenditure. However, training of Indian sports personnel representing any state or union territory at national level, or India at international level. That means, encouraging youth with respect to sports. You can see Mr. Neeraj, who won gold medals, gold medal. These Commonwealth Games are there, no Olympics. Commonwealth Game Olympics are there, no. So if you identify any talented persons in rural areas, and if you are providing training to them in India, qualifying expenditure, and making them to participate at international level, so you took that people, you took that people to the country outside India, and you spend some amount on the training purposes, and then promotional activities about that person, then it is a qualifying expenditure. See, simply read one more time, ma. First of all the below mentioned activities are excluded, and again in that you are able to find the word called except. That means, this is eligible, this is not eligible, but this part is eligible. Donation to political parties straight away excluded, straight away excluded. A political party contributions, contribution to the political party, how do you think that society get developed? And then employee benefits, any benefit you are providing to the employees in extra to their salary, in extra to their agreed payment terms, then also it won't form part of CSR qualifying expenditures. And then next one, sponsorship services. The main point, the sponsorship services, whenever you read the sponsorship services, I'll get an idea of IPL. In IPL you can see, players representing their franchises, they will play the games. But if you observe their jersey, you will find, Kingfisher in one franchisee, and then Reliance Geo, on each and every franchisee jersey you can find Geo. Now, do you think they simply display those logos at free of cost? No, some entities will pay bulk money. Suppose, Geo gave some sponsorship amount of some 1,000 crores. Now, is it a qualifying expenditure or disqualifying expenditure? Disqualifying expenditure, because on looking that advertisement or on looking that jersey, some people will purchase, or they will take services of the Geo company. That means, the deriving marketing benefits of its products and services. You can see Vivo IPL last year, and before that Tata company presented one IPL. So for Vivo IPL means that Vivo company spent, sponsored this IPL. So they will get benefits from the, they will get marketing benefits for their products and services. Now you can't treat this expenditure, you can't treat this expenditure as a CSR expenditure. And statutory obligations, suppose, ma, I decided to distribute food in rural areas, distribution of food. But when you are engaged in food activity, you are having an obligation to take food license from FSSAI, Food Safety Security Security Standards Authority of India. You need to take license from FSSAI. For getting that license, you paid fees of 20,000 rupees. Statutory fees you paid 20,000. Now this 20,000 rupees, is it a qualifying expenditure or not qualifying expenditure? It is not qualifying expenditure. So, my dear students, remember these 6 activities. They will ask any of these activity, and they will tell whether is it a qualifying under CSR or not qualifying under CSR. So that's why I'm telling you, once read that 6 activities, and go through these 2 exceptions one more time. So because, in exception, if you find exception, that means, to this general rule is applicable. What is meant by exception? The above general rule is not applicable in the below cases. Under exception, if you see again one more exception, that means general rule is applicable to this exception. Okay, next one, CSR committee. We just now discussed CSR committee. Who will form part of CSR committee? Only board of directors. And then CSR policy. So who will frame this policy, Amma? CSR committee. So CSR policy means a statement containing the approach and direction given by the board of a company, taking into account the recommendations of CSR committee, and includes guiding principles for selection, implementation, monitoring of activities, as well as formulation of annual action plan. Next, no, they need to select activities from schedule 7, and spending money on those activities, all these points. Administrative overheads. Administrative overheads means the expenses incurred by company for general management and administration. Yes, so we decided to take up a project of rural transformation. For that, I need staff, I need employees to monitor the to monitor the activities carried out. Yes or no, I need a small office, and then I need staff members, so that they will exercise duties. They will daily they will go to rural areas. So the to what extent the project is completed, what are the materials required for that project. For all these activities, definitely staff is required. Now, whatever money we are paying to the staff, it's not CSR expenditure, but you can claim under CSR, provided those administrative overheads should not exceed 5% of the fund. Fund means what, sir? 2% of average profits. 2% of average profits. For spending these 2% of average profits, you will incur administrative overheads. So for meeting, general management and administration of CSR in the company, but shall not include the expenses directly incurred for designing, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of particular CSR project or program, because they will directly come under CSR expenses. Administrative overheads is different, direct expenses is different. Linked to the project, direct expenses. Not connected to the project, sir, indirect expenses, they will come under administrative overheads. So in costing, you might have got these points, right? Next one, international organization. International organization means an organization notified by CG as an international organization under section 3 of the United Nations Act 1947, to which provisions of schedule to the said act will apply. For the time being, ignore this point. We'll discuss this point whenever we come across this international organization word, but for the time being, it means an organization which is covered under section 3 of some UN Act 1947. Next, very important point, net profit. Net profit. I just some 10-15 minutes back, I told this point. So net profit means here what, sir? Uh, Holding company is there, ma. Listen carefully. A holding company. It is having subsidiary company. Very, very important point. Very, very confusing point. Just listen. So C Limited, our company is C Limited. It is having S1 Limited, one subsidiary company. S2 Limited, one and one more subsidiary company, and it is having branch located in USA. So now the point is, C Limited standalone financial statements, as well as consolidated financial statements. So here we take the 2% of profits from standalone financial statements, not from consolidated financial statements. In these standalone financial statements, whatever dividends received from subsidiary company, subsidiary company paid dividends, those dividends, yes, you will disclose them under other source income in these standalone financial statements, right? Dividend income. And from this branch also, company got some profits. Those profits are also credited to the standalone financial statements. Here the point is, listen carefully. S1 Limited, Indian subsidiary. S2 Limited, Indian subsidiary. But S1 Limited is already covered under CSR. This C Limited is covered under CSR. S1 Limited is covered under CSR. S2 Limited is not covered under CSR. No CSR applicable. Sorry, CSR is not applicable. No, I told you that 2% of net profits means, is it a profit after distribution of dividends or a before distribution of dividends? The before distribution of dividends. S1 Limited already spent some funds on CSR activities. Remaining balance funds, out of remaining balance funds, they paid dividend to the members, and as a result, C Limited also got such dividend. Similarly, S2 Limited also declared dividend and they paid to C Limited. And these branch profits, obviously branch profits will be added in the head office books of accounts. So here you had 3 points, dividend from a company to which CSR is applicable, dividend from a company to which CSR is not applicable, and profits from the foreign branches, profits from foreign branches. Now, what should be included in the net profit for CSR? What should be excluded? So, included, coming to included, S2 limited dividend is included. Excluded, S1 limited dividend excluded, foreign branch profits also excluded, because foreign branches, it earned revenue out from the foreign, not from Indian society. They earn money from foreign society, so no need to spend amount with respect to foreign profits. Exclude them, exclude them. And with respect to S1 limited, they already spent CSR. Again, considering these dividends, again asking them to spend, it leads to cascading effect, spending two double times. So that's why S1 limited profits excluded, S1 limited dividends are excluded. Whereas S2 limited, so far S2 limited didn't pay any CSR amount, so didn't incur CSR. So now whatever C limited is getting from S2 limited, whatever CSR is getting, C limited is getting from S2 limited, they need to consider this in the net profit and they need to spend a CSR out of it. For example, C limited profit is 60 crores. Dividend from S1, dividend from S1, 5 crores. Dividend from S2, some 3 crores. And foreign branch profit from foreign branch, some 8 crores. 8 crores. Originally speaking, really speaking, the net profit as per schedule 3 is, total income of the company as per schedule 3 is 65, 68 and 76 crores. Actually, you need to spend 2% on these profits only. But on this 5 crores, already dividend, already on this, 5 crores amount of S1 limited, already CSR was spent. So that's why exclude. Foreign branch, it earned profit not from our Indian society, outside India. So exclude. So only this 60 and this 63 crores you should consider for the purpose of CSR fund. We'll see the point in detail, Seema. So net profit means net profit of a company as per its financial statements prepared in accordance with applicable provisions of the Act, but shall not include the following, namely overseas profits, profit arising from any overseas branch or branches of the company, whether operated as a separate company or otherwise, and dividend income, any dividend received from other companies in India which are already covered under section 135 of the Act, which are already covered under section 135 of the Act. Provided that in case of foreign company covered under these rules, net profit means the net profit of such company as per profit and loss account prepared in terms of clause A of subsection 1 of section 381 read with section 198 of the Act. So that's it, ma. That's it. So this is all about net profit point. That section 198 381 calculation format, right? Just 1 second, ma. So the next point. So the next point is with respect to ongoing project. So what is this ongoing project? Let me keep this point pending and I'll get back to this point after some two questions. Next one, public authority. Public authority means public authority as defined in clause H of section 2 of the Right to Information Act 2005. Where you get all the information about a particular entity. Anything you'll get. You had a statutory right in getting that information unless prohibited under any other law for the time being, but you can have access to each and every information. Right to Information Act, nowadays CA students are using this act only in getting their mark sheets or in getting their answer papers. So next one, I kept ongoing project pending, I'll tell you, but after one or two questions. Question number 19, we already discussed, duties of CSR committees: formulate, recommend, monitor. Formulate policy, recommend the policy to directors, And whatever money you get from directors, you need to spend on CSR policy, CSR activities. For that, monitoring is required. The first one, recommend CSR policy. Before recommending, formulate and recommend to board a CSR policy which shall indicate the activities to be undertaken by the company in areas or subjects specified in schedule 7. So in schedule 7 you had a in schedule 7 you had a list of activities. So you can go through that question, ma'am. It's a self study question. Just one moment. Yeah, question number 24. Not important for exams, just self study. So whatever policy you're framing, those policies should contain these activities. Now, with respect to basic needs, education and training, equality, so eliminate inequalities, and then environment, safety, heritage, arts and crafts, armed forces, sports, PM fund, and contributions to the notified establishments, notified simply notified funds. And then rural development projects, slum area development, disaster management. So these are the activities specified under schedule 7. You can take up any of the activity linked with schedule 7. Understood. And recently some clarifications were given regarding these activities. So that point you can see under question number 25, clarifications by MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So each and every clarification will be given through general circular. Each and every circular will be numbered, 21 bar 2014, dated 18th June 2014. So whatever clarifications they provided, you need to consider them also. For the time being, I will see some 2 to 3 points. Statutory provision and provisions of CSR 2014 is to ensure that while activities undertaken in pursuance of CSR policy must be relatable to schedule 7. So you can't pick up an activity which is not there in schedule 7 and you can't call it as a CSR expenditure. And the entries in schedule 7 must be interpreted liberally so as to capture essence of the subjects enumerated in the said scheme. The items enlisted in the amended schedule 7 of the act are broad based and are intended to cover a wide range of activities as illustratively mentioned in the annexure. I'll tell you one small example. This don't think as an entertainment, just I'm telling you basic needs. Basic needs, one point is there in first point. First point, basic needs is there. Eradicating hunger, poverty and malnutrition, promoting healthcare including preventive healthcare and sanitation, including contribution to the Swachh Bharat course set up by central government for promotion of sanitation and making available safe drinking water. Education and training, you can see the points, promoting education. So training, education training, I decided to give training to 500 children, ma. Now what is the training? How to hold the weapon, how to use the weapon, how to kill the person. This is also training. Now, amount spending, I'm spending amount on this kind of training, can I consider it as CSR expenditure? Just asking you. And then, basic needs to the drug addicted people. Drugs is definitely their basic need. Without drugs they can't survive, they can't even think, they can't even do the things. Now for them basic need is drugs. Now supplying drugs to that people, and whatever amount I spent on this activity, do you think will it come under CSR expenditure? No. So you should interpret liberally what is there. Incidental activities. So you can't take some other meaning so that main provision is getting diverted. You can't take like that. So certain clarifications were given here. And one of events such as marathons, awards, charitable contribution, advertisement, sponsorships, etc., would not be qualified as part of CSR expenditure. So already we discussed this point under exceptions. These amounts are not qualified for CSR, right? And then labor loss, acquisition expenses incurred by companies for fulfillment of an act, statute, such as labor loss, land acquisition, etc., would not count as CSR expenditure under the Companies Act. I told you the example of food license. So whatever amounts you spent meeting the regulations, act norms, some rules and regulation norms, those won't form part of CSR expenditure. So these clarifications were given under MCA. sorry, MCS circular were given through MCS circulars. You can go through it, but not that much important for your exams. Just give one time reading. Just give one time reading. So clarification has been issued on spending of CSR funds for setting up makeshift hospitals, temporary COVID care facilities. In second wave, you might have seen, no beds in the hospital. Hospitals are very completely full. They're charging you a premium fees, right? So in continuation to this, Ministry's general circular, wherein it was clarified that spending CSR funds for COVID-19 is an eligible CSR activity. Further clarified that spending of CSR funds for setting up makeshift hospitals, temporary. It's like moving hospitals simply. Like, everything is kept in an ambulance. It is having a bed, and then oxygen cylinders and necessary things, for treatment of the patient. Now, whatever amount you spent on these makeshift hospitals, they are also qualified expenditure for CSR. So these are general clarifications, ma'am. Now 2021, you can see, second wave is very, very serious in our India. Many people died, and cases also, think more than 5 lakhs, more than 3 lakhs per day. You can observe it. And 13 January 2021, they gave one more circular. 23rd March 2020, they gave one more circular with respect to COVID activities. So these are the clarifications with respect to CSR on COVID. Just give one reading, that itself is sufficient with respect to this point. So 24, question number 24, self study. 25, I explained some points, and the remaining points you read it on your own. Now come back to the point. So CSR policy should contain only the activities which were specified in Schedule 7. Recommend the amount of expenditure. So total how much funds is needed. Recommend it. Monitor the policy. So to whom they need to recommend? Board of directors. So for this policy we need 50 crores. Come on, sir. Now, board of directors should contribute that amount. They should allot 50 crores to CSR committee. Now, CSR committee will monitor whether the policy schedules are meeting or not, whether we are complying the scheduled time limits or not. And then annual action plan. According to rule 5, sub rule 2 of company CSR rules 2014, CSR committee shall formulate, recommend to the board an annual action plan in pursuance of its CSR policy, which shall include the following, namely the list of projects or programs now approved by the committee and approved by the directors, and this is as per schedule 7 only. Manner of execution of such projects. So simply first what we are going to do, first step. Next, what is the second step, third step. So how we are going to execute these projects. Modalities of utilization of the funds and implementation schedules, simply give them a draft copies. So this is our model structure, how we are going to utilize the funds. For first phase some 50 crores, second phase 30 crores, third phase some 20 crores we are going to spend in this manner. And progress reports, whether are you fulfilling the criteria or not. Monitoring and reporting mechanism, and details of need and impact assessment, if any, for the projects undertaken by the company. So all these are the action plan of CSR committee. All these points should be covered in the committee. Suppose if you are preparing for an exam, you will draft a plan. So we are left with 10 days for exam. So 10 days, what are the things I need to cover? Each day how much portion I should complete, whether I completed or not. At the end of the day, impact assessment, self assessment. Similarly, CSR committee will do with respect to CSR amount, CSR policy. And then duties of directors, very small question. Duties of the directors in relation to CSR. So whatever policy they get from CSR committee, they should approve the policy. After taking into the account the recommendations made by CSR committee, approve the policy for company and disclose these contents in the board of directors report and place it on the company website in such manner as may be prescribed. So now committee people came to the directors, they gave policy details, and once going through all the policy points, policy documents, okay, if directors fit it is okay, then directors will give approval. Directors will allot money to that committee. Directors should ensure that activities included in policy are undertaken by the company. So company, whatever it is spending money on the policy, so whatever money is spending under CSR, so is that amount, is the amount spent is linked with activities specified in policy. Details of CSR committee on its website. The board of directors of company shall mandatorily disclose the composition of CSR committee and CSR policy and projects approved by the board on their website, if any, for the public access. So you can go through the CSR activities. So what are the activities done by the company? I'll show you. I'll show you a CSR report of Tata Consultancy Services Company. So don't worry. So this should be displayed on the website. So simply approve the plan of CSR committee, allot them resources, and disclosures in the board report, disclosures in the website. So that is what the duties of the directors. That is what duties of the directors. So next question we'll discuss in next lecture. So take a small break, and after 5 to 10 minutes watch the next question. This is not a new topic. This is the topic of CSR only. Fine. So take small break, ma.